On March 28th, the opening for ReZero Season 4 dropped, and while there's a lot to talk about, I want to be unique and different. So instead of talking about the trailer itself, I want to talk about everything that had to happen behind the scenes, in production, to make this a reality. Because believe me, some interesting things happened behind the curtain too. Things like how Season 4 was actually going to have 40 episodes and not 19 like we know now. How the departure of a large part of the original staff halfway through production affected things, and how could we forget the death threats that some people in the fandom started throwing around because of how chaotic the production seemed to be. Before we begin, a shout out to the channel's donors. A shout out to the biggest fan of the Primarch Aggron. No, just kidding. He's actually a fan of the Pokemon of the same name, but it's fun to mess with him. Also another special shout out to Shizuko, who supported the EX1 goal and offered to send me the Origairu novels for something I'd like to do. Finally, one last shout out to Dante Heredia, who just joined the channel members. Over on my English channel, a big thank you to the oldest channel members, to Marcos, who has kept paying for his membership since the day I opened them, to Remote Planet, who helped me out back in the day with some novel scans, and to Asimx, who found me through a short I made. Thank you so much, but now, let's actually get started. Welcome to the story of the original production of Season 3, which was cut to give us a third and fourth season. The production for Season 4 actually started in 2021. Yeah, right when the second season was wrapping up. Though calling it production might be a bit of a stretch, let's just say they were in the planning stages back then. And how do I know this? Did I dream it up? If you have to ask me where I get my sources after I've read all the light novels for this series, then you must be new to the channel. Anyway, my source is the most trusted leaker in the community, Ice. I've been following all the updates he gave through the insider he had planted in the production, and honestly, it amazes me to see how White Fox ended up biting off more than they could chew. You see, when the planning was done in 2021, it was agreed that Arcs 5 and 6 wouldn't be adapted into a third and fourth season respectively. Instead, both novel arcs were going to be broadcast in a single massive third season of about 40 episodes, with only a mid-season break. This break would be right at the end of the Pristella events, and the show would resume with the journey to the Watchtower. I know this sounded very promising, and although there was never an official confirmation from the ReZero social media accounts, there were certain clues that backed this up. Let me introduce you to Otsuka, the illustrator of the series, and someone whose gender nobody actually knows. But their gender is besides the point. When the official announcement for Season 3 dropped, they once again posted an illustration commemorating the upcoming season, but as always, ended up revealing more than usual. In the past, Otsuka had done commemorative illustrations for the first and second seasons, and as we can see, the characters featured in those illustrations ended up appearing in their respective seasons. So, when Otsuka published the key visual for Season 3, many people were doubtful about the appearance of Shala and Volcanica, since those are characters who wouldn't be showing up anytime soon. Then time passed, and when more official news came out, it was stated that Season 3 would only cover Arc 5. That left the fandom confused. Why did they include characters from an arc that wasn't going to be animated? At the time, nobody knew, but now we know that originally, when the announcement was made, they really were going to include Arcs 5 and 6 in the third season. In fact, I remember reading a tweet a few months ago where someone associated with the production confirmed this theory. But what happened then? Why did White Fox backpedal and, instead of giving us one single long season, give us two short seasons? How exactly did the production of Mushoku Tensei's second season influence the cut made to ReZero's third season? Before I continue, let me clarify that I've tried to inform myself as much as possible on this whole topic, but obviously I'm not an industry expert, so feel free to correct any info mentioned in this video. You probably don't know Masaharu Watanabe, but if you enjoyed the first and second seasons of ReZero, it's largely thanks to him, since he was the one who directed the first two seasons of the show. Obviously, it's not like he did everything all by himself, but he was the key figure responsible for putting the right people in the right places, who ended up giving us those first two seasons. He was also the one who pushed for the massive amount of extended episodes we got in the first two seasons. By extended episode, I mean episodes that run for 30 minutes instead of the usual 25. Watanabe really wanted to adapt as much as possible, and while it still wasn't enough, the effort is appreciated. But here comes the weird part. When it was announced that Season 3 would include Arcs 5 and 6, and around 40 episodes were planned for production, unlike the usual 25 from the first seasons, why the hell didn't Watanabe stay on the production? He already had the experience, and now that something even more ambitious was being planned, it would only be logical for him to be in charge. Nobody knows what happened. All we know is that he stepped down out of nowhere, and his absence would heavily impact the rest of the production. But as if losing the main figure who had been working for you up until then wasn't enough, Ryuga Fujiwara also left. From what I know, he was the animation coordinator up to that point and the guy who decided what was going to be shown on screen. Although, for better or worse, he left around episode 60 of the series. At least he got some work done before heading out. And here's where the funny part happens. If two major figures who breathed life into your anime's production have left, I think the normal thing to do would be to dial it back a bit and focus more of your resources on the project that's clearly going to be difficult. But nope. Gaku Iwasa, president and founder of White Fox, upon seeing that the 40-episode production for Re:Zero Season 3 was in deep trouble, had the brilliant idea to make the remaining workers help out with the production of a few episodes for an anime called Sengoku Yuko. On top of that, and I don't know how true this is, since I didn't quite get it myself either, it seems certain White Fox animators also got saddled with the task of animating part of the second season of Mushoku Tensei. It was because of this insane workload at the animation studio that some idiot on Twitter thought that was enough of a reason to wish the worst upon Gaku Iwasa. But let's get back on track. From what I understand, White Fox, apart from their main headquarters, has a secondary studio they use for anime production. And the workload for Sengoku Yuko and Mushoku Tensei ended up going to that secondary studio. It's never been officially confirmed that Season 3 ended up getting cut because they were producing parts of these other anime, but it's safe to say it had a lot to do with it, especially when we also remember the departure of two major figures from the studio. Word goes that, due to the absence of these two figures, the final episodes of what ended up being the third season had a really hard time finding episode directors who were not only willing to direct, but who could also live up to the franchise's standards. It seems the search wasn't exactly fruitful, since rumor has it they ended up hiring debut directors for these roles. And hey, I'm not saying the directors did a bad job. I think that considering the position they were put in, they did the best they could. In hindsight, this explains certain things I didn't like about the end of Season 3, like the fact that they changed Teresa's motivation. But getting back on topic and to wrap up the video, let's recap. Two major figures leave, there's a huge shortage of episode directors. White Fox has overloaded itself not only with this ambitious 40-episode project, but on top of that, the president is out there accepting contracts for his animation studio to animate parts of other shows. Well, in this cozy landscape, rumor has it that the person who replaced Watanabe, Masahiro Shinohara, started directing a movie called Trapezium at the exact same time he was directing Re:Zero. I'm not saying I condemn the director for doing this. I mean, it's his job, and at the end of the day, the more work he gets, the better. But the leaker and source of all this information claims he doesn't think that was healthy at all for Re:Zero's production. Anyway, despite this eccentricity from Masahiro Shinohara, we have to admit he made some good contributions. For example, it's known that he was the one who insisted the first episode of the third season end up being an hour long. And while I personally believe that Season 3 skipped over a lot of things, it still remains a good adaptation of the events from the light novel. Plus, it's hard for me to be too harsh on Masahiro after he delivered that opening yesterday. Believe me, I'd love to end this video with some profound reflection about the future, but looking back at it, I think we can all agree that Season 3 was much more good than bad. At the very least, it was way better than Mushoku Tensei's second season.